Tonight's story is one of the strangest you will ever hear. It begins on a stormy night in late January 1965 in a small, quiet village in Lebanon. Two police officers were called to investigate something unusual on a deserted beach. What they found would turn an ordinary night into a mystery that no one could have predicted. Officer Fared Jabar and his partner walked along the wet sand as rain poured down in sheets and the wind whipped around them. The waves crashed against the shore in a rhythm that felt almost alive. The sand was slippery and heavy with water. Their boots sank slightly with each step. The beach was completely empty, and the darkness seemed to stretch forever ahead of them. Fared pulled his jacket tighter around himself. The cold rain soaked through everything and stung his face, but he forced himself to keep moving. He thought about home, about warmth, about being in bed instead of trudging through the storm. He knew that he had a job to do and that he could not turn back, despite how uncomfortable and frightening the night was. Far down the beach, Fared's flashlight caught a strange shape. At first it looked human, but its outline was odd and uneven. As they approached, it became clear that it was something unusual. It was covered by a heavy cloak or a layer of seaweed and sand. It moved slightly, as if it were alive. The officers froze for a moment, unsure of what they were seeing. The wind howled and the waves crashed, and every sound seemed amplified in the darkness. Fared's mind raced. What could this be? Was it a person, an animal, or something else entirely? The figure remained still, but its outline seemed to shift subtly, as if it were aware of them. The air around them felt charged with tension, and the hair on Fared's arms stood on end. He signaled to his partner to stay quiet and move slowly closer to investigate. The two officers scanned the surrounding area carefully, their flashlights slicing through the rain and darkness. They saw nothing else. The beach was completely empty. The only sound was the wind, the waves, and the occasional cry of a distant bird. The strange figure on the sand remained the only focal point of the night. It seemed to invite questions but gave no answers. With no backup available, Fared's partner decided to go back to the station to get reinforcements, leaving Fared alone to stay near the mysterious figure for the night. Fared wrapped his jacket tighter and tried to stay calm. Every shadow, every movement, every sound seemed like a potential threat. He couldn't tell whether the figure was dangerous or simply strange. He reminded himself to stay alert, to observe without interference. Hours passed slowly and relentlessly. The storm seemed to intensify. The wind blew harder, and the rain fell with more force. The waves crashed and hissed, and the beach felt as if it were alive. Every step of the water, the shifting sand, every leaf and twig became a part of the suspense. The night stretched on endlessly, and Fared struggled to remain awake. His body ached from standing. The cold made his muscles stiff, and his mind began to wander. He thought about the village, about how quiet it usually was, how rarely anything unusual happened. He thought about his family and the warmth of home. He tried to focus on the task at hand, but the fatigue was overwhelming. The wind seemed to push against him, and the darkness seemed to press closer every moment. He fought the urge to sit or rest, moving slightly along the beach, trying to keep himself alert. Eventually, the exhaustion overcame him. He crouched down in a small dip in the sand, trying to find some comfort. The rain soaked him to the bone, and the wind cut through his jacket. He closed his eyes for just a moment, intending to rest without sleeping completely, but slowly he drifted into a light sleep. The last thing he remembered was the crashing waves and the shifting shadows around him. When he woke, he felt a wave of panic. The figure was gone. The sand around him was disturbed, and his flashlight lay at an odd angle. He scanned the beach frantically for any sign of what had happened, but there was nothing. No footprints, no clues, nothing that could explain where the figure had gone. The darkness was complete, and the storm showed no signs of stopping. The beach seemed alive with mystery and possibility. At the far end of the beach, he noticed a figure moving in the shadows, chopping wood or moving objects. Fared didn't know who it was, but cautiously approached, hoping for answers, hoping to find some clue to the disappearance of the mysterious shape. When he got closer, the figure appeared ordinary at first, but there was an air of strangeness about it, almost as if it were aware of being watched, yet paid no attention to him. Hours later, his partner returned with reinforcements, a small team of officers and investigators. The scene seemed familiar at first glance, but as they approached, it became clear that nothing was the same. The shape on the sand was different. The sand around it had shifted, and the details of the beach had changed slightly, as if the storm itself had rearranged the landscape. It was a puzzle that no one could easily understand. The investigators began examining the area carefully. They combed the sand, they scanned the shadows, and they spoke with Fared about what he had seen. They tried to reconstruct the events of the night. Every detail seemed strange. Every observation seemed to raise more questions than answers. The storm had erased clues, and the shifting darkness had hidden them. The mystery of the night became deeper and more perplexing with every passing moment. Fared reflected on the events as the team investigated. He thought about how quickly a quiet night could turn into a puzzle of suspense and uncertainty, how the smallest movements of the wind or the waves could change everything, how a moment of rest could allow something strange to occur. He realized that the night had tested his courage, his perception, and his ability to remain calm under impossible conditions. The team discovered subtle clues on the sand, small marks that seemed to appear and disappear. They spoke with villagers who reported seeing strange lights or shapes in the distance during the storm. Some said the wind seemed to whisper in unusual ways. Others reported that the waves sounded different, as if carrying a message. None of the clues explained the figure completely, but they added layers to the mystery of the night. As the storm began to die down, the team pieced together a sequence of events. The figure had appeared and disappeared multiple times. The shifting weather had altered the landscape, creating confusion and uncertainty. The officers realized that the beach itself had become part of the mystery. The way the sand moved, the water lapped in certain patterns, and the wind howled created an environment that made it almost impossible to know what was real and what was imagined. Fared walked along the beach, reflecting on the night. He thought about how easily human perception could be influenced by darkness and fear, how one moment of uncertainty could grow into a full-blown mystery, how the ordinary could become extraordinary in the right conditions. The events of the night would remain with him forever, and he knew that he had experienced something rare and unforgettable. If you are enjoying this story of suspense and mystery, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. More twists and unbelievable events are coming up, and you do not want to miss them. The investigators continued to work through the morning. They examined every inch of the beach, every shadow, every footprint. They spoke with witnesses and villagers, and slowly, the story began to make sense, yet it remained strange and remarkable. The figures' appearances and disappearances seemed to follow no pattern. The wind and rain had hidden evidence and created illusions. The mystery persisted, but the team learned to interpret the subtle clues left behind. Fared reflected on the lessons of the night, the importance of observation, the power of patience, and the value of calm in uncertain conditions. He thought about how quickly fear could take hold and how perception could shape reality. He realized that not everything that appeared threatening was dangerous, and not everything that seemed ordinary was harmless. The night on the beach had changed his understanding of the world around him. By midday, the full sequence of events had been reconstructed. The story that had begun with a call about a strange object on the sand had turned into a tale of suspense, mystery, and subtle clues that challenged perception and understanding. Every officer involved was amazed at how quickly a simple situation had become extraordinary. The village would remember the events for years, and the story would spread far beyond its borders. The beach returned to its quiet state. The waves lapped gently against the shore, the wind slowed, and the rain stopped, but the story remained in the minds of those who had experienced it. The night had tested courage, patience, and perception. It had shown how ordinary circumstances could become extraordinary, how mystery could arise from the smallest events, and how one night could create a story that would last for generations. Fared continued to recount the events in interviews and conversations. He described the storm, the waves, the figure, the shifting sand, and the wind. He shared how the ordinary became extraordinary, how fear could be tempered by observation and calm, and how the impossible could seem real in the darkness and the rain. The story became famous, not for danger or violence, but for the suspense and the unimaginable sequence of events. For more incredible stories full of suspense, mystery, and unexpected twists, check out our other videos. And make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another unbelievable story.